Okay, so I'm bouncing around on the internet today on Reddit and Facebook, and I've seen similar posts where people are wondering what 5-MeO is like. A common thing that I see is that people have done NN-DMT and they want to experience 5-MeO. They think they're ready, but everywhere they go, they hear that 5-MeO is like NN-DMT, but way, way bigger. I can contest to this, that yes, that is true. Although I wouldn't describe the experience anything like NN-DMT. If anything, it's the complete opposite, only ramped up, like to infinity. So I just want to share my thoughts on what it's like to blast off on 5-MeO DMT. So usually, people that haven't done it before, they're usually pretty willing to go into the experience. You know, they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And if you've never done it before, there is no way to know. Like anything that I say or anybody else says is just pointing at it. But unless you've had the experience, there's no way to understand. You know, us trying to talk about it in this form it's limited. Their language is just constructs, and they're just pointing to the truth of oneness, of infinity. But for us to be infinite, we have to give up our limiting beliefs and our limiting patterns that we hold on to. You know, so we can't take those patterns with us. You know, those patterns collectively make up who we are, or at least who we think we are. You know, those are the ego structures that I'm talking about. So if somebody puts the pipe to their lips and they inhale and let's say they get a full release dose. If they're able to relax into the experience, within a matter of seconds, the energy, it builds up and it ramps up exponentially. And it just goes from, you know, usually for me, it's like, I'm wondering if I'm getting enough to holy fuck, it's happening like that. You know, so the comparison with NN-DMT, you know, you're able to have time to take multiple hits even. Whereas this, it's like, just get the vapor in and put the pipe down quickly. So the energy ramps up, and as it ramps up, it gets harder and harder for the ego to hold on. Those patterns are trying to hold on, but the energy just ramps up. It expands so much that it just cannot hold on. And, you know, it's easier to just fuck it, let go. You know, just dissolve into the infinite. So, you know, I'm speaking for personal experience here, but I've experienced it different ways, but ultimately it's the same thing. The patterns are peeling away, just and then eventually it just ramps up to, like, the last pattern goes, and then before you know it, it's, you know, depending where you are on your journey is what you'll experience next. You know, if you're early on in your journey, there's a good chance you're not going to remember anything. And it doesn't happen for everybody, but, you know, I personally had that, and I've read other reports that this happens. You know, you're so connected, you're so ingrained in that identity. When the identity comes back, it just has a blank space from that experience. Oftentimes when we're beginning our journey, and this happened to me personally, you know, I was so attached to my identity and ingrained in my ego that the energy ramped up for my first, I guess it's technically my second time. It ramped up to infinity, and, you know, it got to that point, and I was, holy fuck, and that's all I could remember. And then it broke apart. But then when the ego came back, that's all I remember. I only remember the part where the ego was there. So the ego's there, it's gone. There's an experience actually happening, but since the ego's not there, I have no recollection of it. And then the ego comes back, and then there's just this, like, you know, 20 minutes or whatever it was of just, wow, that seems like nothing happened. But then over time, as I've gone through the experiences, I'm able to stay present. I'm able to retain memory. You know, the ego goes away, and there's awareness there. And, you know, I'm able to remember the experiences. So that being said, I'm not so attached to the identity as much anymore. So there's this ramping up that happens, and the further you allow it to go, the more power it has. But then you realize that you are that power. You know, it's not like I smoke 5-MeO and then the 5-MeO is making me dissolve and it's making me do all this stuff. It's not the way it works. It amplifies who I am, and it amplifies so much that you just become everything. So the idea of comparing it to NN-DMT is, man, it's a fool's game. is just a completely different beast. You know, and DMT is great. It's a good time most of the time. But you know, for the non-dual work, it's not comparable in any way, shape, or form. Also, I'd like to share that during the experience itself, you know, it's a typical 15-20 minutes for the 5-MeO I'm talking about. You know, it comes in waves. So the initial part, break through, you work up to breaking through. Sometimes people don't break through and they struggle and fight, and you know, that's just where they're at. But say they break through, and then there's this, you know, it just comes on in waves. You know, it's almost like chapters of the session. And you know, I see people wanting to like be in that infinite space for longer. Like that's where it is. But there's nothing happening there. Like you go into infinity and you realize you're infinite. It's like great. That's all the time, forever and always. That's all that's ever happening. It's like, but I just want to be there longer. It's like, why? What's the point? The work is here in duality. So coming back, I find when the ego starts reasserting itself, that's the moment where you can really pay attention. Because if I notice that there's certain patterns reasserting themselves, they stand out. And that's kind of like, it's like almost like a compass in a sense of what I'm going to work on in this next integration period. And I will say that it doesn't always happen like that, but that's a general thing that I've seen in multiple experiences that I've had. So for anyone that hasn't done it, I highly recommend you have a sitter with you. You know, and in DMT, a lot of people do it by themselves. They post that they do it by themselves. And, you know, do whatever feels right, but take it from people that have been there. And it's good to have somebody with you, at least to watch you, to make sure you're safe. Because we don't know how we're going to react, and it's just better to be safe than sorry. You know, I'm just sharing my thoughts. I just saw a few posts today, so I thought, man, what the hell, I can turn this into a video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.